Good morning, students. We were reading the chapter. This is Jodi's Fawn. In previous two videos, I had explained the two parts of this story. Now, let's move to the final and third part of the story. What happened when Jodi reaches to the jungle and tries to find him, but so far he had not found him. He only saw the dead body of the deer, the doe, and the big buzzards were all sitting around there. What happened after that? Let's now continue from this third part. Movement directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backwards. Some movement happened just in front of him. He was startled, he was surprised, so he tumbled backwards. The fawn lifted its face to his. Suddenly, he saw the fawn lifted his face. It turned its head with a wide, wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. When that fawn looked at him with its liquid eyes which were moistured, he looked at him. It was quivering, it was shaking. It made no effort to rise or run. That little fawn did not try to rise up or even to run. Jodi could not trust himself to move, so he stayed still. He whispered, "Hey, it's me." The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him, sniffing him. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft neck. Jodi stretched his hand out and laid it on his soft neck. The touch made him delirious, extremely excited. He moved forward on all fours, moving on his legs and hands both, until he was close beside the fawn. He put his arms around his body. A light convulsion passed over it, but it did not. When he put his arm around the fawn, it shivered a little, but it did not move. He stroked its sides as gently as though the fawn were a china deer. Very gently he stroked him as if it was made of china deer. China deer means china clay. You must know the crockery in our house is made of china clay, so it is very delicate. If it falls down, it breaks easily. So soft, so delicate like that. So gently he stroked his uh, sides so that it might not break. Its skin was very soft. It was sleek and clean and had a sweet scent of grass, smooth and shiny skin. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. The boy Jodi lifted now that fawn. Its legs hung limply, without any motion, hanging. They were surprisingly long, and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arm. Because of his long legs, he had to lift the fawn high. He was afraid that it might kick and bleat at sight and smell of his mother. Now, Jodi was afraid that if he sees the dead body of mother or smells it, he might start kicking and bleating, making sound. So he skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. Into the dense area he entered. It was difficult to fight through with his burden, going through that dense bushes with a heavy load on in his arms. It was difficult for him. The fawn's legs caught in the bushes, and he could not lift his own with freedom because of dense bushes. So it was very difficult for him to move. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines, tried to protect his face from the thorns. Its head bobbed with his stride when he was moving. With every step, his head was moving here and there, bobbling. His heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. But Jody was very happy as he felt that the fawn has accepted him, so his heart was happy with that excitement. He reached the trail, that small path, and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection with the road home. He reached to the place from where he could find the road to his home. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on his dangling legs. There, just to take rest, he stopped for some time and he put down the fawn. It wavered on them. He could not stand properly on his legs. It looked at him and bleated, cried, the fawn. He said, enchanted, happily, he said, I'll carry you after I get my breath. Let me get some rest. After that, I'll carry you again. He remembered his father saying that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. He remembered once his father has told him that if you carry a fawn for some time, then you just put it down, it will follow you. So he started away slowly. He stood up and started moving to check this, whether it happens or not. The fawn started after him. It happened. When he started walking, the fawn also started going after him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. It took a few wobbling steps towards him and cried piteously. But though the fawn was trying to go behind him, but was not able, so weak, so he cried. It was willing to follow him. It belonged to him. It was his own. He was light-headed with his joy. Now, when he saw that this fawn was following him, he wanted to come with him. So he was very happy from inside. The feeling of belongingness came into him. He thought, now this fawn belongs to me. So he was very happy, but he wanted to fondle it, to run and romp with it, to play with it, to call it to come to him. He dared not alarm it. He did not want to frighten him. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. It seemed to him that he walked without effort. His arms began to ache and he was forced to stop again. Soon again he was tired, so he stopped again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once. He allowed it to walk a little distance, then picked it up again. The distance home was nothing. He could have walked all day and into the night, carrying it and watching it follow. Means he was so happy at that time that he could go on for a long time into that path. He could come and go many a times without feeling tired because of his happiness. He was wet with sweat, but a little breeze blew through the June morning, though he was sweating. But sudden breeze came, cooling breeze. He was relaxed. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. He came to the clear area. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. He fumbled with the latch and finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage it. Again, he set down the fawn to manage by itself. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house. He thought he would go to the house into Penny's bedroom, father's bedroom, with the fawn walking behind him. He thought, let me enter the house like this and I will go to my father's home and the fawn will come behind him. But at the steps the fawn barked and refused to climb them. But this could not happen because the fawn could not climb the steps. So he picked it up and went to his father. Penny lay with the closed eyes. Father was laying closed eyes. Jody called, Pa, look. Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him, holding that fawn. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. He said, "I am glad you found him." Jody then went to the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. With wobbling, shaking legs, he also went after him. A pan of morning's milk stood in the kitchen safe. The cream had risen on it. He skimmed the cream into the jug. He poured milk into a small bowl, and he held it to the fawn. It butted it suddenly, smelling the milk. Became excited when he smelled the milk. He saved it precariously from spilling over the floor, but into that excitement, he just saved it from spilling onto the floor. It could make nothing of the milk in the bowl. It was of no use for him. He was not able to drink from it. So what the boy did, he dipped his fingers into the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft wet mouth, dipping his finger into the milk and then put the finger into his mouth. It sucked greedily. The fawn sucked the fingers. When he withdrew them, it bleated frantically. It wanted it again. So he dipped his fingers again, and as the fawn sucked, he lowered them slowly into the milk. So, lowering the fingers, keeping it into the fawn's mouth, he lowered his fingers into the bowl. Now, the fawn blew and sucked and snorted. He started drinking from there. It stamped its small hoofs impatiently. He was also stamping his hoofs, just kicking his feet into the floor. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. The fawn was satisfied. It closed its eyes dreamily. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand. It was such a delightful feeling for him. Its smell, its small tail flicked back and forth. The last of the milk vanished in a swirl of foam and gurgling. Means he drank all the milk just with the help of its fingers. That little fawn was now satisfied and happy. So with this, now the story ends, and we will be doing the question answer after it. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you. Bye bye.